Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. And today I wanted to talk about player marketplace ships and compare and contrast the Kraken Privateer against the Banu Merchantman. Now there's been a lot of talk recently of player bases and player space stations. These locations will be areas where players will be able to sell and trade goods. Okay, so this kind of changes things with ship-based player-to-player trading, right? Whether you plan on putting an orbital station, crafting that, right? You're going to need a pioneer to be able to craft an orbital station. You're probably going to need a pioneer to be able to craft a large enough outpost to do and handle a lot of sales, right? And these are org enterprise level things. But what if you have a smaller crew, right? You are running with maybe, 10 people, right? You can definitely get into base building with 10 people, but at the end of the day, you're going to need a full org for space stations and these larger outposts. So if you're running with a smaller group of friends, right? You might want something a little bit more manageable, right? You might want something that, if it's destroyed, you can claim it, you can repair it, something that is mobile. Maybe you want to be able to go from Pyro to Stanton, right? Buy and acquire things in Pyro and then sell them for more money in Stanton for people who don't want to deal with the risk of being in Pyro. So for those kinds of players, you have two primary options, right? You have the Kraken Privateer and you have the Banu Merchantman. Now, again, these are large capital ships that you're going to require a lot of players, but again, they're more mobile. It's not like a space station, it's not like a ground base. You can do more operations from them. So, when we go into this comparison, I also want to say that these are two in concept ships. So they're not uh, set in stone. Basically, a lot of these things can change and or get rebalanced before it gets into players' hands. But we've seen glimpses of the Kraken in, some Star Citizen CIG promotional stuff like at CitizenCon, and the Merchantman has been in development in the past, right? Both of these ships so far on the shelf. Now, let's get into both of these ships' details, their specifications. Okay, so we're going to start off with the Kraken Privateer. Now, the Kraken Privateer is not a standalone ship. This is a variant of the standard Kraken. So they share a lot of things between the two of them, but there are some stark differences that I definitely want to highlight in this video. Now, starting off, they're going to be the same length, 270 meters. This is a massive ship. This is a capital ship, but it can land on the surfaces of planets. This is not like the Hull C or anything like that. This is definitely something that can land and is designed to do so with tons of landing gear. The next thing is going to be the cargo. Okay, the privateer is coming at 768 SCU of cargo. Now, this is not the cargo capacity that the regular Kraken has. The regular Kraken has 3,792 SCU of cargo. Okay, the regular Kraken can hold a ton of cargo. But the reason why I believe the privateer can hold so much less cargo is because that area is probably going to be dedicated to the marketplace. So basically what I think CIG is doing here is that they are taking up some of the room that is or was the cargo area in the standard Kraken, and in the privateer they're making that the marketplace area that has the shops, that has the area where you can sell out from. So that 3,000 SU worth of cargo area is now your storefront. That's where you're going to sell your wares from, which makes sense because it'll probably be adjacent to your cargo room if they're taking up that cargo space, right? So if they take up the cargo space, the other half of the cargo area is probably going to be where your actual cargo is still going to be. Okay, in terms of shielding, it's going to have 2 capital shields. Okay, so these are going to be very capable of defending this ship. Then in terms of weaponry, here's where things get really interesting. We're going to have 2 size 7s, and I'm going to kind of zoom in here on the Kraken so we can kind of see a little bit better, right? Okay, we're going to have 2 size 7s up at the front here, 2 size 5s on the other turret up at the front here, then 2 size 4s on this turret, 2 size 4s on the adjacent turret on the side, and another 2 size 4s at the top. So you have 3 turrets in the back and 2 big turrets in the front here. Right, so that's 5 turrets. Now, CIG has kind of changed things around a little bit, so where capital ships have a lot of point defense turrets that are automated. So I'm not sure, but I think more than likely CIG will add point defense turrets to this ship as well. I think all capital ships will really get it, right? And so now we go into some of the features here. So the Kraken Privateer has a private marketplace, right? So this is probably a special room where you take in high-profile clients and you show them an inventory of very rare things that you have, right? Kind of like there's a brand new mission giver in 4.1 called aUEC, I believe. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right, but he has a lot of rare stuff in his back area, so I think that's probably the private marketplace. Is going to be like a nice secluded room where you can take VIP clients and you can sell them the rare stuff, the exclusive stuff, maybe things that have been smuggled, things that are not so legal. That's going to be your private marketplace. Then you're going to have a public marketplace. This is going to be probably like that big open area that the cargo area used to be, where you're going to have your storefronts that other players are going to be able to go there and they're going to be able to look at things, just like in the Banner Merchantman. Then you're going to have internal hangars and landing pads, right? So you have, 2 medium landing pads, 4 small landing pads, and then 2 small hangars. So a lot of people could come to this ship just like if it was a space station. They can land on these landing pads. You could see here there's a door there where they can land right here, walk right in, and there's a door on each of these, right? So from the landing pad you could go straight into the ship, you could go straight in from here, and then the 2 hangars are underneath this landing pad where the cargo area is going to be in the back. The cargo area in your marketplace is going to be in the back over here. Okay, so internal hangars and landing pads, but you're also going to have a med bay for respawning. You can also have your customers respawn here, and then guest rooms. This is something that I didn't realize the Kraken Privateer had, but it also has guest rooms. Now this is important for people who are staying maybe eventually. Right now, other players cannot log out on your ship, but I believe eventually they're going to be able to use these guest rooms to log out and stay on your ship if they want to. Now, there's no mention of the Dragonfly hangar that is in the standard Kraken, so I figure the Dragonfly hangar area is either being taken up by the guest rooms or the private marketplace, right? So either or, that space is they probably change its use case to either or one of those 2 things, because those 2 things are not in the standard Kraken, and they don't mention the Dragonfly hangar on the standard Kraken. Now, with the Privateer, you're probably not going to need a Dragonfly hangar, because the Dragonfly hangar is dedicated to repair and rearm Dragonflies specifically. Kind of like the Starlance Attacks bespoke Fury hangar. There are some ships that have hangars that are more dedicated to certain ships. And so I didn't see that mentioned in the Kraken Privateer, but let me know in the comments down below if you guys know if it is going to be added. And the final thing here to talk about is the price. Right now, the Kraken Privateer is going to run you $2,000, and it is also a limited sale ship. That essentially means that for a limited time, CIG makes this ship available to purchase. Now we have Invictus coming up, and after Invictus, Drake has their Defense Con where Drake ships go on sale. They're not a part of the regular Invictus because the like the outlaw ship brand, the Navy and the military don't really like working with them. So at Drake Defense Con, these ships will become available for a limited time, and they will have like a limited quantity that they make available for store credit and for new money. Usually the new money ships, you can get your hands on them a little bit easier, but the store credit versions, they usually go pretty quick because people are melting different ships and they have the money on their account, and then as soon as the Kraken becomes available, they snatch it up. I don't know how long they'll last this time around, but that's going to be your next opportunity to snag a Kraken Privateer. So that's the Privateer. Let's now look at the Merchantman. Okay, the Merchantman here is going to come in at 239 meters. It's a little bit smaller than the Kraken Privateer, but as you can see, both of these ships are very comparable in size because the Merchantman is going to be a lot wider with these wings, right? The Kraken's just more long. Okay, and then in terms of cargo, you're gonna have 2,880 SU of cargo. So the Merchantman has a ton of cargo space. It has more than double the cargo space that the Privateer has. Okay, and that's strictly because the Merchantman, designed by the Banu, is dedicated towards doing cargo and trade, right? So you your inventory is going to be a part of your cargo. So it's not just like a marketplace, but it's also a trading ship. So you're going to put the cargo on the ship to trade. This isn't like cargo inventory for your marketplace. This is cargo that you're going to trade and sell for profit. So the Merchantman naturally has a lot more SCU of cargo than the Privateer, right? Then initially, the brand new Merchantman was set to have two large shields, two size 3 shields, but the Merchantman grew in size from its initial concept. So now the Merchantman has one capital shield. I'm not sure if CIG is going to bump this up to 2 capital shields, as the Kraken has 2 capital shields, but for now, the Kraken Privateer has more shields than the Merchantman. Then in terms of weaponry, you're going to have 2 size 8s. Those are the large pilot control guns that come out the side here. So that is kind of a benefit for the Merchantman, is that you have pilot control weapons and the size 8s, which is kind of crazy. Now, you guys might be able to correct me in the comments if this is incorrect, but according to the Star Citizen wiki, these size 8s are pilot controlled. Again, that's kind of interesting, but the way that the Banu Merchantman works is that there's no real captain or pilot on the ship. All the crew members kind of just share duties, so that's why there's no captain's quarters on the Merchantman. So it kind of does fall in line with the way the Banu do things, but yeah, there's 2 size 8s there. Then you have 2 size 5s. That's going to be your primary turret. It's a really unique design up here at the top in this cone, where it's kind of like a levitating area where the turret gunner comes up to the center, this cowling moves away, and then you have 2 size 5s up there. Then you have 4 size 4s. So I believe that's going to be turrets on either side at the back or around those areas, right? And then you have 4-point defense turrets. Now, again, this is something that I think keeps in line with what CIG wants to do with capital ships and point defense turrets. And because the Banu Merchantman was in production not that long ago, it kind of makes sense for them to prioritize the point defense turrets on the Merchantman, even though it's not mentioned on the Kraken Privateer. I believe the Privateer will have them too. Then in terms of features, you're going to have your major marketplace. This is a large open area with storefronts. Now in the Merchantman, this marketplace is actually 2 stories high. I don't know how big the marketplace in the Privateer is going to be. We haven't really seen many photos of it, but we've seen the 3D assets of the merchantman's marketplace, and it's a large area with a ton of storefronts. So that's going to be really nice if you have different things. Like you might have a storefront that's just armor, you might have a storefront that's just weapons, you might have a storefront that's just components, you might have storefronts that are just like small handheld weapons, or maybe a storefront that has like mining accessories and different things. So you can separate the items that you either craft or found through gameplay. Then you're going to have the primary hangar. So this hangar is going to be like a Polaris or an 890 jump sized hangar. It's designed to fit the Banu Defender, which is not a small ship. The Banu Defender is about big enough to fit in a Polaris, I would say. So if you have a Polaris right now, that what fits in that hangar should fit in a merchantman. But again, I'm not 100% sure, but it is that same size hangar, a small hangar, not the extra small hangar that you're going to find on a Carrack. Sorry. Then you're going to have the negotiation room that looks down on that cargo area. So when you're negotiating, your clients can look at everything that you have, right? To me, this would be kind of like a good opportunity to sell rare stuff, kind of like how the Privateer has that private marketplace. This might be a good place to bring back VIP clients and kind of haggle on some more rare stuff. The negotiation room, in most people's opinion, is kind of like a role play location, because I don't think it's going to have any built-in systems, right, where a player can go there and interact with some kind of UI. It's just going to be a place where, you know, you kind of role play, and you meet another player, you go back to this room, and you kind of talk about making whatever deals you want to make. Then it also has a med bay. Again, capital ships are all pretty much going to have med bays, and it's going to have guest rooms. So it's going to have some very large plus guest rooms for those VIP clients again. And that's going to be set eventually when they fix the log in and log out stuff, a place where your guests will be able to log out from. Now, crew amenities, I believe it just has one large crew. Again, no captain's quarters or anything like that. But at the end, let's talk about the price. It's coming in at $650 right now. Of course, way a long time ago, I believe this ship was like $350 on concept. So people who got it at that price, congratulations. Let me know in the comments down below if you're one of those original Banu merchantmen enjoyers. This ship is still really affordable compared to the Kraken Privateer. Again, to just look at those numbers side by side, $2,000 for the Kraken Privateer, $650 for the merchantman. So you're getting similar functionality. They're both capital ships. They both have a lot of weapons. The merchantman has really big pilot control weapons, although it's like, it's not going to be a light fighter by any stretch of the imagination. But if a Kraken pulls up on you, you do have really big pilot control weapons that you can fight back with. Again, you're going to have the point defense turrets if, smaller fighters attack you, and that single capital shield, whereas the Privateer has those two capital shields. In my opinion, both of these ships on paper are very closely matched, right? They very closely line up. The big benefit of the Privateer is going to be those hangars and those landing pads, right? Those are going to be, they're going to give you that dual role capability of not just a marketplace ship, but also a fleet carrier, right? So if you're, a small org of 8 to 10 players, because I believe the crew capacity for the Kraken is 10 players. So if you're an org around that size, right, you can each have your ships landed on the Privateer as you use the Privateer to go about your business. So when let's say you're in Pyro, right, you could use the privateer as like a staging ship where you have all of your crew members, right? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you have two crew members left on the Kraken Privateer to do whatever they have to do, right? So you have 4 players, they're going out to do bounties. You have 2 players, maybe one's salvage, maybe one's mining. Then you have 2 other small players in here, maybe they're doing bunker runs. So you can have your whole group kind of just do everything from this one ship, and then they can all come back to the ship, log out, and have their ships landed on landing pads for their next journey. And then the privateer can take all of those ships back to Stanton, and then you can sell what the group has acquired, right? So that whole gameplay loop, that workflow, is going to be really attractive to players with that size. So some orgs might have 2, 3, 4, 5 Kraken Privateers to be able to do that kind of gameplay and just have teams of players all over a star system. The Merchantman, on the other hand, is kind of, I would say, less of a logistic ship and more of that. It's kind of focused on heavy trade and, doing the merchant thing. So you're probably going to have, one medium-sized ship in there in the hangar that your crew can go on planets and do different things with, right? More than likely, it will be able to fit something like a prospector or something like that. So if you wanted to go out and do other things, you have that hangar there that is fully enclosed that you can do some things from, right? But it's going to be a lot more limited than being a staging ship like the Kraken Privateer is. That Kraken Privateer is going to really be your flagship staging ship where your entire crew can do everything from. Merchantman is really just kind of like that marketplace hub where that crew gets together and they kind of just go from system to system, and it's less of doing other content from this one ship, but just the specific content is the trading, is the marketplace, right? So I think that price wise, okay, if that's the use case, right? Price wise, I think the Merchantman is very good. Now, before it is released, it more likely will go up in price, right? Because it's still in concept right now, and you see other ships, right? Like the Perseus, that's $750, and it's not a capital ship. So I think that this is probably going to go to 700, right? The Pioneer has already gone to 1,000. So if you're thinking about selling from a space station, you need a Pioneer to make a space station, right? And so if you plan on having a space station, you can just automatically budget $1,000 because you need a Pioneer to do that. Now, of course, you are supposed to be able to make a Pioneer in game, but I know most people, that's going to be a lot of work. That's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of people to craft a Pioneer, and then from the Pioneer to craft a space station. I think a lot of people are going to hire Pioneer owners maybe to make space stations for them, but it's going to be a huge investment. So if you just want the marketplace aspect, the Merchantman is your kind of like the cheapest entry into that gameplay loop. So I know for a lot of people, this ship has been long awaited, heavily anticipated. This is a ship that the players desperately want, but of course not all of those mechanics are in game right now, because CIG is moving things towards, building out crafting, building out the economy, and they're kind of going to need to figure some of that stuff out before the Merchantman and the Kraken Privateer are really fun, right? So it kind of makes sense that we don't have it just yet. But I want to know what you guys think in comments down below. Do you have a Kraken Privateer? Do you have a Merchantman? I want to know. Now, before I end this video off, I did forget one thing. The Merchantman is not a limited sale ship. And the next time I believe it will be available and on sale is going to be Alien Week this year. So I believe at that time it's probably going to go up in price to $700. So if you're thinking about picking up a merchantman, maybe you're doing some kind of CCU chain, then will be your opportunity to get it. But that's going to be all for me in this video. In my personal opinion, I think the merchantman is a killer deal. If I was getting into the, player marketplace gameplay loop, I would go with the merchantman. For me personally, the Kraken Privateer is just kind of way out of my budget. It's not something that I'm willing in investing in this game. And then, of course, you should be able to craft it with a space station, but that's also going to take a ton of resources. Again, the merchantman is just going to be a lot more accessible for a lot more people. But I love hearing from you guys, so I want you guys to sound off in the comments down below. What do you guys think about these ships? What ship are you going with? Are you excited about this gameplay? But that's going to be it for me in this video. Thanks for hanging out with me again. Thanks for talking about these cool ships with me again. And like I always say at the end of these videos, you guys like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more. And see you guys in the next one. Salud.